Smartphone revolutions. Whenever people start off with this topic, they either start with, oh, the iPhone 1, that was really revolutionary. Yes, that was revolutionary, but I think it's a lot overused right now, even in my own videos. So this is to take a step back and look at the real actual revolutionary smartphones, some of which you don't really remember. Maybe one from the series is the most popular, but these 5 smartphones have something very special that has become a industry standard, or more like they've been present in the industry for more than 5 years now without dying. So let's talk about those smartphones, shall we? So right off the bat, let's start off with the LG phones, because let's face it, LG did a lot of things in the smartphone market that we're not aware of. But in this video, we're going to be talking about the LG G5. Now look, LG G5 wasn't LG's best phone. Like the LG G3, that was LG's peak. The LG G4's boot loop issues and the screen issues or something like that, those were a big problem, and LG G5 was the biggest thing to do for LG to get back its consumers. And what did it do? Let's say it wasn't according to plan. LG brought in this whole module system and all of that. That was really confusing. They discontinued it and blah blah blah. I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about one staple feature that you cannot take off any flagship phone today. And if you do, it's not considered a flagship. Not even a flagship, like call any mid-ranger to any flagship. All of them have this one feature, multiple cameras. And flagships have 3, 4, some even have 6 and all of that. But what you can take off, even on a lower end device of something like this, it has an ultra-wide sensor. And this second sensor was something really big. But at the time of LG bringing it, it was a half-baked idea, but LG already gave room for its competitors to develop on it properly. But then like now, you can't really find any smartphone, like even a mid-ranger, without a proper ultra-wide. So this is a big staple feature, and this was a big turning point considering that Samsung was reinventing the smartphone camera with the Galaxy Camera S4, and many people were trying to put like multiple lens type thingies and all that. It was fully wonky. But what LG brought in was cost effective. It made a lot of sense considering that smartphones were used in rough situations and they couldn't be fragile or brittle at times. So this was something really big. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is a phone that I don't think you've ever heard of. It's the Motorola A920. And now look, this wasn't a smartphone. This was a smart type phone, which means that it was back in 2003, and you know how 2003 phones look. Or if you don't, this is a reference, this is how it looks. So this Motorola A920 had a revolutionary idea that you cannot take off any smartphone today. Like any smartphone you buy, if that's not there, that's not a smartphone, literally. So that is the selfie camera. And the selfie camera has evolved over more than 10 years today. Like it's over like 15, 16 years old right now. And it's really old, but it's evolved into something really good. The fact that people struggle so much and people want other people to take a photo of them, it still exists today. But if you just want to take a simple photo all by yourself without like wonkily, or like if you're insecure about asking other people, just fire up the selfie camera and that's it. And that has also helped in video calling as well, where like you don't have to like turn around the smartphone camera because that would be inconvenient. You couldn't see the other person and the other person couldn't see you. That made no sense. So video calling was also another big feature because of the selfie camera. And the selfie camera is a big thing today. So not a lot of people can live without the selfie camera. And that is something really big. So a huge shout out to the Motorola A920 for that. Okay, now that we've got these moment-filled big stuff out of the way, let's talk about something that's technically impressive. So when I talk about technically impressive, I mean the Vivo X21. And this wasn't some kind of like a big revolutionary phone. Again, it had mid-range specs, it was pretty alright. But what was cool in it that it had a in-display fingerprint sensor for the first time on a consumer device. Now, like, it wasn't like really long back or something like that. It feels like a lot of years, but it was only 3 years ago in 2018. And that, my friends, actually changed the smartphone market. From every other person writing a tech review was like, whoa, I feel like I jumped into the future like that. Now, this isn't technically useful, considering the fact that there is more resources put into like building this. But like the fact that this gives consumers another safety feature of like, oh, I don't really have to show my fingerprint sensor outside. Like, I just do that. Damn, that's cool. It's more like this one of those like, damn, that's cool features, rather than like, oh wow, this has made my life more easier feature. So still in 2020, a lot of devices like the Google Pixel 5, even though the Pixel 6 did change to an in-display fingerprint sensor, still have a real-based rear fingerprint sensor. But the fact that this actually made people think that smartphones are actually more fun, and this just adds to that like zing element for smartphones, the fact that it is actually innovating. So this was not that big of a phone, yet it was moment-filled. Now, this phone is, let me just break it right off the bat, it's a Galaxy Note 1. And this phone, everybody knows it was revolutionary, but not for what you think it was. Now look, everybody thought this was a big revolution because of the S Pen. It was because of the size. It showed that phablets were something that people would buy. Now look, prior to the Galaxy Note 1, there were plenty of like phablet phones like the Dell Streak and all of that. But what was the biggest problem is that they acted like a tablet, not as a phablet. A phablet is something that is like big enough but still acts like your phone. And this thing came in 2011, came in at 5.3 inches, which is still very minor. Like this phone is 5.8 inches and this is called as a compact device. But at that time, this was a really wide aspect ratio for a smartphone, and this really like made this feel that I'm actually holding something that I can use with my whole thumb, considering that those smartphones at that time came with like 3.5 inches of display, and like you had to be really careful of like what you touch. So considering the fact that this was 2011 and this actually like did change the smartphone market to going sizes to bigger and bigger, but again there is a limit to everything. Smartphone sizes are like up to 6.9 inches or even 7 inches right now, which is fine, but this was the laying stone for that, for telling people that you deserve more screen real estate. If you want a bigger phone, make it big, that's it. So the biggest selling point of the Samsung Galaxy Note 1 was not its S Pen, was its big screen added with the S Pen. So when you take it into that account, it truly does become into a productive device in your pocket. Now the last device that we have on this list is the Axon M ZTE. Now you'd be like, wait, what? I've never heard of this device. Now yes, you wouldn't have, because it wasn't making as many headlines as Galaxy Fold was. But let me tell you something. For the Fold, the Z Fold, for the Z Flip, for the Razr, for even the Surface Duo and the Duo 2, and the Real FlexPi, this was its ancestor. And you might think this was a folding phone. No, you're wrong. This was a hinge-based device. And this was a proper ancestor to the Duo and the FlexPi in specific, mostly because of the fact that it had a hinge, it had two screens, which would just like fold in half and meet at the end. Something like the Huawei Mate XS, I guess. But the fact that this was underrated was because of its software. Like in hardware, this was really good. This is something like a Surface Duo levels of success, except that the price tag wasn't that high. So it had really good hardware. Like it made a satisfying click when it clicked back, and it did really make sense. But what didn't make sense was the software that was made for it. Just like many other phones in the market today, the smartphone market wasn't ready for this, and this was just a first generation device as a first generation device. Like you didn't have any other company making it, unlike foldables today. But this was a really good device, and thanks to ZTE for actually like doing all of this so that they can actually learn from ZTE's mistakes. ZTE wasn't certainly like true on if this was actually good, and that was for a good cause as well. So now that that happened, foldables could actually learn from it, and hence we have the Galaxy Fold, the Royal FlexPi, the Moto Razr, and then the Mi Mix Fold, and then the Huawei Mate XS, the X2, all of that exists because of the fact that ZTE made that mistake. And so that wraps up this video. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys like this video, do comment down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then, this is yours truly, Shreyas Kalyan.